So, what if husband spanks 2-year-old and I don't agree? Here we go. My son is almost 3 and he is a handful, but he's not malicious, he's just wild. He's a cute and happy child, always smiling, but always getting into stuff and needing constant supervision, which drives my husband crazy. He is always yelling at him and needs constant breaks. My son had his biting stage, which is normal, and I'd been trying to correct it with redirection, but my husband kept insisting we need to bite him back so he knows what it feels like. We would argue about it, and I said no, I absolutely do not want him biting the baby. I wasn't home and my son bit him. He was biting when he wanted attention, and I'm sure my husband was playing games on his phone, ignoring him, expecting him to entertain himself. So my husband went ahead and bit him on the arm. He told me about it when I got home and I was furious. He still had teeth indentations on his arm. They faded shortly after, so he said it wasn't that bad. My husband is a really big, strong guy, and he has no idea how hard he does things. He tries to tickle me and it's literally painful. He doesn't understand how hard he's squeezing. So to me, it's even more important that he never, ever lay any sort of physical punishment. The kid is only 2. This is a toddler. He can really hurt him. He apologized, kind of, but maintained that we have different views. For a while now, he's been insisting that our son needs a whap when he does something wrong, and his parents keep telling him the same thing. Just give him a whap. They also encourage the biting. He's effing 2. He doesn't need to be hit. He has no concept of what he's even doing. He's still figuring it out. We have had arguments about this. I do not want spanking to be used as a punishment ever. It's weird. It's not productive in any way. And in my opinion, it teaches 0 lessons except that you can't really ever trust your parents because they're willing to hurt you. Source, I was spanked. When I say this, my husband suddenly turns into Archie Bunker. Not sure who that is.
That's an American. It's an old TV show. A character from an old TV show from like the, I don't know, 70s or 60s
Okay.
maybe. Yeah. Anyway.
And starts this really annoying little speech about how he doesn't believe in this new age liberal bullshit. He has never voted and is not registered to vote, so I don't know where he comes up with this crap.
Boo. Boo this man. Go vote.
Everybody vote. The whole I was spanked and I turned out fine. He is not fine. Then how all his friends growing up were spanked. He's a guy and I don't understand because I'm a woman. Guys need this, he says. For months we have gone back and forth on this. My kid will do something wild and run away laughing, and my husband would grit his teeth and say, "Grr, I really want to hit him right now." In my opinion, that's exactly why he shouldn't spank him. He wouldn't even be doing it right if there is even a right way. He'd be hitting him in a rage. A few days ago, I wasn't home from work yet, and apparently my son grabbed our cat by the tail and pulled him, so my husband did it. He called me at work and said he gave him a whap, whatever the F that means. I don't know if it was on the butt, on the back. I'm assuming he grabbed him by the arm and spanked him, but I have no idea how hard or how many times. Yes, my husband did tell me, but he said he could just not have told me, I guess, to prove how great he is. Doing me a favor and telling me. I was so mad I cried. We had a big fight when I got home and again the next morning, yelling in front of my son. It was bad. I'm so confused. I feel like the frog slowly boiling metaphor. Would I jump out if I met this guy now, or am I just so enmeshed in this nonsense I can't even tell what's what anymore? Is this really just a difference in parenting styles, or is this something people divorce over? I'm worried about escalation. Who can I talk to about this? Should I find a couples counselor? Should I talk to his pediatrician and tell them what happened? I don't know where to turn.
Yeah. So this story is not. It's tough. I think the interesting thing about this is this guy is the poster boy, whatever, for why so many people are moving away from physical discipline for their kids, because this guy literally disciplines his child out of anger. He's making comments about how he just wants to hit him. He's talking about biting his kid back, which is...
And he did bite
really
him back.
Dumb. Like, what a dumb thing. Like, what is that exactly teaching? I don't really understand. And he's just really doing it wrong. But I think... So, and I'll just tell y'all right now, I'm a fan of keeping that tool in the toolbox. Physical discipline is something that, people did. I think 90% of Americans did back in like the up to the early 90s, and it's dropped to something like 60%, something like that. I believe that, and I can't find any data on this because no one's doing any studies on it, because I wonder why, right? The people who have their viewpoints aren't necessarily going to do research to discredit their viewpoints. But my belief is that a lot of the issues that we're seeing with kids today are actually due in part to this complete shift away from a parenting tool, a tool in the box that we've had for literally thousands of years, and now all of a sudden we're saying this is no longer acceptable, and we want to blame it. We want to blame the problems that kids are having on social media, as if there weren't other things, like kids getting bullied in other forms when they were, before social media came around. We're blaming everything but things that just kind of seem obvious to me. It's almost like the people who don't want to acknowledge that guns are killing kids. It's like, dude, they are. It's not video games. It's not movies. It's not TV shows. It's guns. And, and people's fear about doing something difficult, like, using physical discipline sparingly at times when it's necessary. I think that leads to a complete shift in the dynamic of parenting, where all you have to leverage is love, and that's great. But you know what? Sometimes, you need a little bit more than that. And the example that I use is, if the world were so easily tamed and everything were great and fine, and the U.S. could be loved just for our great food and culture and awesome personalities, then we wouldn't need a military, right? And I'm not saying that your kid is like a foreign country or whatever or an enemy combatant, but kids are people. They have their own desires of independence, and they need structure, and sometimes some kids do things that require something that reminds them to not do that. So from my experience, my dad never spanked me when he was angry. In fact, I found out that if I did something really, really bad that got him really, really upset, nothing would happen to me. Like, because he's like, I'm too mad. I'm literally too mad. I'm just gonna leave this alone. I'm like, oh wow. So go big or go home was what I learned. If I'm gonna do something, I need to do it big. Like throw mud balls over my neighbor's house big.
But then you paid for it later, right?
How?
Well, he didn't just not punish you, right? He just didn't punish you in the moment.
Can I just tell you, I don't remember, because I didn't get spanked. Like, I mean, maybe they took the video games away or something, but like, I know that I did something really egregious. Y'all, I covered our neighbor's house with mud balls. It was like a polka dot masterpiece. It was beautiful. It was
a work of art.
It was beautiful. And I jumped over their back fence and covered the back side of the house, and all sides of their house was covered in mud balls. And nothing, I got no spanking whatsoever because my dad...
Did you have to wash it off?
Oh yeah, I had to wash it off, but that was also kind of fun because it's like when you wash it off, there were still stains from the mud balls, so their house was just now like kind of polka dot, and it stayed like that for a long time. It was awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So no, I think but I also think that using physical discipline is, you use it too much and it loses its power. It's like, because my dad, I would say that he probably did it too often. It was just every time like something, it was like a violation, and now I'm getting spanked. And I found myself turning it into like a game where I was like, okay, well, I'm going to show no emotion and not cry whatsoever. And like, I'm pretty sure it frustrated him. Like, it was like, cause he knew it wasn't working. And the thing is, like, it doesn't, after a while, it doesn't work. I mean,
so you have to be selective.
You have to be selective about it. And for the most part, I think that, it's a low creativity type form of discipline, but just because it's just because it's not, it's a dumb, basic kind of blunt tool doesn't mean it doesn't have value. A hammer is a stupid tool that's so basic, but it's hella useful. And like if you don't own a hammer, like you're kind of like, what are you doing? Like your toolbox is like broken. So I think it's kind of like the hammer. You kind of need the hammer, but it's not going to be a tool that you use often. And if you use the hammer everywhere, you've got holes in your walls, you've got like strip screws, you've got like, if you're trying to cut something with a hammer, like it's like janky edges. I don't know. I'm like going on all kinds of tangents here, but
yeah, I think the issue is that a lot of people had a really bad experience with it, because unlike what you're describing with your dad, where he wouldn't hit you if you were angry, I think a lot of people had the experience with this guy in here, where it's like the parent gets angry and they lash out. So it's like it's an emotional response instead of a controlled discipline response. And that is not great and can be like traumatic and create distrust between the parents and all that kind of thing, which I think this woman that's what she's trying to avoid. I think the other thing in here is like, I feel like this does a good job of illustrating the importance of having these kinds of conversations before you have a kid with somebody.
Yes.
Because like you don't want to be in a situation where suddenly your partner like gets angry and like spanks your kid or bites your kid in this case, which is just weird.
Well, he didn't suddenly do it. He said, "This is what I'm going to do."
Yeah, but the fact that he was like he like really was wanting to like bite this kid.
Weirdo.
So yeah, I think that's really important to have those kinds of conversations before you have kids. And there's so much stuff that comes up with kids. Obviously, you can't have all of the conversations about every single scenario that's going to happen, but this seems like it's a fundamental conversation that should be had.
Absolutely. It was a conversation that we had beforehand, and as you can tell, like Gemma, she didn't think this was something she wanted to do.
I wasn't on the same page.
Not on the same page, not on board. And, to a certain extent, I think still is hesitant about it. And obviously we don't have to cross that bridge. Our child is one. So I don't see, and I look forward to coming up with all kinds of creative ways to discipline him. Like, I shouldn't say discipline him, but like help guide him into, a path where his behavior is aligned with what he wants to get out of life, right? Like it's like, this is not for me. Like, this is for you. I'm like, we talk about him getting upset when we change his diaper. I mean,
he hates getting
bro,
his diaper changed.
I'm just trying to help you not have poop all over yourself the rest of the day. Like, if it were up to me, I'd leave it here too. Like, I don't want to deal with this. I'm not interested in this. Like, I'm just doing what I have to do. And, so it's like, but you have to have those conversations, and so many people fail to have those conversations because they're afraid of what someone, is going to say or think or whatever. But what this woman wanted to know is like, well, what can I do? Well, here's the tough news for you and anyone else out there who didn't bother to have this conversation before. Absolutely nothing in a lot of places, at least a lot of places around the U.S. I mean, I can't speak on the laws everywhere, but for the most part, the way this thing works is, if it's legal to use physical force to discipline your kid, reasonable force to discipline your kid, then it doesn't require, two parties agreeing. It's like what happens in a partnership with a business where you're 50-50. Both have the equal power to unilaterally do a thing. Or I like to say in like copyright law, so in copyright law, I'm a lawyer, y'all. So with copyright law, if you got, say Gemma and I made a podcast together. Fun, right? We both own this podcast.
Yeah, we do.
Gemma can sell the rights to this podcast to whoever she wants without my permission whatsoever. And those rights are valid. I can't go and sue her over it. I can't do anything about it. So you got to make sure that when you make a podcast or a baby, that you're on the same page on how you're going to monetize it or discipline the baby. So, be careful about who you partner up with.
To do a podcast with.
Partner up with, yeah.
I think that this could be a good time for her to think about, okay, what other things did we not talk about that we probably need to talk about before they happen?
Yeah. Cell phones. When does a kid get a cell phone? I mean, he's only, 2 now, but I guess pretty soon that might come up. There's all kinds of things.
Yeah.
You know, is he going to, like, do you take him to church? I don't know. Anyway, it seems like she's left some serious things out, and probably should revisit some stuff.
Yeah.
We've talked about this one.
We've talked about this
quite some
a lot.
time.
Yeah.
So, in the interest of time,
yes,
your time, we're going to just say, hey, throw some comments in. Love to hear what you think. I'm sure a lot of you guys hate what I had to say.
Let us know. We want to hear it.
And I want to hear all about it. I mean, I've read this stuff, so I don't think it'll be anything new, but I mean, I look forward to hearing something new on this. Like people have their views on this. This one's a little controversial.